girl. Hey, how you doing? As you can probably tell from my voice, I have been kind of yucky and sick for the past week and some change, which is why this is so overdue. Well, okay, let me stop lying. Because it is currently Valentine's Day. And this is the first wrap up situation that I'm doing for the entire year of 2025. So it has less to do with me being sick. It's more of a combination of procrastination and being sick. But let's just talk, girl. Let's just talk. First of all, check out my nails. You like them? Are they cute? They're press-ons. Anyways, so today we're gonna talk about what I've been reading since the beginning of the year, what I've been feeling, what I've been doing. Now here's the thing. Let's look at their nerds. According to the list of books that I have on my little sticky note on my computer Dora, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8. Count them. 8 5-star reads. Who doing it like me? Ain't nobody doing it like me. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go in the order of what I read chronologically. However, we are going to move one book from, the middle of the stack all the way to the end, because she needs her own moment, and you will see towards the end of the video what book that is and why it needed its own moment. So the first book I technically read this year that wasn't a Death Note manga was First Light Wins by Ashley Easton. I actually wasn't planning on reading this because I'd heard, I don't know, that is a very divisive book because people either really, really loved it. It was super popular last year, or a lot of people just really, really didn't like it. But I will say most of the negative reviews I've seen for First Light Wins was that people don't usually like spy novels, apparently. But when my good friend read it and said I should probably read it, I was like, okay, sir, we will see if I like it or not. I gave First Light Wins 2 stars. And it wasn't necessarily because it was poorly written, even though I was definitely bored throughout my reading experience with this. It was more of, I think the writer should have just written a spy novel. I think that's what she really wanted to do. But I guess for like appeasing her publisher, or maybe, the publisher pressuring her to write something that is more marketable. So mystery thriller suspense novels will always have a very large audience, especially, considering the way that genre has boomed in the past like decade or so. I don't know what it was, but I don't know, the entire time I was reading it, I just really felt like it would have been far more enjoyable if it were just a spy thriller. I think trying to make it more of a mainstream kind of mystery thriller did it a disservice. And then also, I don't know, so this what is this story about? Girl, I don't even remember. It was a girl, and she was pretending to be a person, and she was leaving some stuff behind in her life. And then her and her man, they go to a party, and she meet a girl who got the exact same name as her actual name. And she's like, that's not you, that's me. Like, technically, me is a different me because I'm a spy, so I gotta be this kind of me. But you trying to be the me that was me back when I was me. You're welcome. Goodreads needs to erase whatever they have as the current synopsis and just type up what I said. And I better get financially reimbursed for that. Anyways, 2 stars. I mean, give it a shot. A lot of people seem to love it. I'm not going to say that no one should read it. Next, something that needs to be required reading is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. I gave this 5 stars. I'm giving the book itself 5 stars. None of the things that she experienced in this book I would give 5 stars. Like her turmoil and some of the awful ways that people have taken advantage of her and hurt her and betrayed her and led her astray, all the way from her being a child up to being an adult in more recent times. It was all 0 out of 5 stars. All of that was awful. So I'm not giving the things that she struggled with in her life 5 stars. I mean, I feel like you know that. I don't know why I'm trying to explain this to you. However, I was also very surprised to see that a lot of people didn't know who she was ahead of time. So she is one of the main characters in a show that used to be on Nickelodeon called iCarly. The titular character has a best friend named Sam, and that is who that is the role she played to gain her fame or whatnot. And I mean, the show wasn't really targeted towards me because I'm 32. So when it came out, I wasn't in like the target demographic, but I was still I guess I was aware because the way that your girl still watched SpongeBob, Nickelodeon stayed on the TV. But anyways, so yes, 5 out of 5 stars. It was a very harrowing read. I really loved the transparency and the grittiness of this. It genuinely felt like I was having a conversation with Jeanette McCurdy. And I really, really loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. All right, next we're going to get into a couple of books that I physically own. So I read The Cracked Looking Glass by Catherine Ann Porter. This is the first book that I have read out of the Penguin Modern books that I acquired. And this is also where my Tabby Tab journey of 2025 started. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. So the back of this, the summary says, a passionate, unfulfilled woman considers her life and her marriage in this moving novella by one of America's finest, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I don't really like that summary. I feel like it does the story a disservice. Yes, it does the story a disservice. So the way that I would describe this book is that a man is very contently in love with a very charismatic, beautiful, outspoken, imaginative, and slightly unhinged woman. And they have been married for quite a while now. He is significantly older than her. We're not like a ginormous age gap, but it is a noticeable age gap. And so he is at the point in his life where he just wants like a quiet, normal life. He's just like, look, I want to wake up, tend to the house, eat some food, sit on the porch with a cup of coffee and then do it all again tomorrow. But she is dead set on adventure and storytelling and the fabulous things she can find. And she often gets swept up in that. And so I'd say like a good portion of this book, probably like half of it. I mean, it's really short anyway, but half of this story is the husband stewing in the corner by himself, thinking about how full of shit his wife is. And his wife is on the other side of the room, and there's always like a neighbor or a stranger, someone in their house, and she's just wooing them with all these stories that he knows aren't true, right? And at some point, she does go on an adventure, which was just a bunch of hilarity. I loved it. And it does involve a cracked looking glass, but this was phenomenal. This was hilarious. This was over the top. The main, like the wife in this was such an interesting character to follow because she is thinking about and vocalizing what her reality is, but us as the reader really see what's going on. This was 5 out of 5 stars. I did not expect to love this as much as I did. Next, we got one for the girls. Okay. Shout out to Robin. Shout out to Jess. This is Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. I very obviously am the last human on this website to read this, but just in case I'm not, so Bloom follows a woman named Rosemary, who I think in the beginning of the book she just got out of a relationship, I believe, and so she's basically trying to like not necessarily get her groove back, but she's trying to find some sense of normalcy and autonomy outside of her previous relationship. So she ends up going to a farmer's market, and there she meets a woman named Ash. And Ash is, I mean, the moment I tell you this, you're going to be able to like visualize her very similarly to how I did. She sells soaps and candles and lotions, and she always has a tray of cupcakes for sale. She's that girl. She's that girl. You can already picture her. I don't need to even read any descriptions that were in the book. And so, a very like blurred line kind of friendship or relationship, something starts to bloom between them. And okay, this was 5 out of 5 stars. I think my Goodreads review said something along the lines of, this is the weirdest shit I've ever read in my black ass life. And I stand by that, girl. I stand by that. The first 50 pages, no, okay, we'll say the first 30 pages of this book and the last 30 pages of this book, it is a literary feat for those segments to be bound within the same novel. The direction that this goes in, by the end, I had already forgotten how the hell we got here in the first place. This was so disgusting, so graphic, so incredibly unhinged and random. I couldn't give it anything less than 5 stars. And y'all, shout out to the raccoon, because relatable. That's how life be coming at me sometimes. Just damn, I'm just minding my business. I'm just minding my business. Why get caught up like this, girl? All right. So the next book. Wait, no, I'm lying to you. All right, let's continue. So I then read I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Hartman. This book follows a young girl who, for her entire life that she can remember, she has lived in this underground bunker with a lot of other women, and exclusively women. The only men she has ever come into any kind of like contact with are the guards that basically make sure that they don't escape the bunker, or that they don't try to harm themselves or each other, right? And so her only window into the world as we know it is through the perspectives of the women around her. So her only concept of love, of marriage, of pregnancy and childbirth and relationships and friendships is through the stories that she's told by the women around her. So I've seen in some summaries and in some reviews, people people talking about a big event that happens. I don't want to spoil that because I didn't know that was going to happen, and it surprised me. It was very thrilling to read about. So that's as far as I'm going to So that's as much as I'm going to say. But this was an incredible novel. I actually did not expect to get as much out of it as I did. And I think for me, the most challenging narratives and things to think about after reading this is what makes us human. And even in such a seemingly progressive time in humanity, there is still so much about the human experience that is informed by the manufactured gender roles that we give one another, right? Because these women, since they were trapped in a bunker and there were no men to, I guess, to help define what their role is in the world, they kind of lacked a sense of humanity, right? And then even in later parts in the book where the character is in a more mentally isolated state of mind, she didn't really understand like what her place would have been in society because she had never had to define herself in relation to men. I think that was very interesting. It was just a very eye-opening read. Even as a woman, I really, really appreciated it, and I absolutely understand the hype, girl. I understand the hype. 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I listened to Goddess of Filth by V. Castro. This was I. So, I feel like the strong points of this novel actually had more to do with the audiobook and the audiobook narrator than the actual story. So forgive me, I listened to this like almost a month ago at this point, so I don't remember any of the characters' names. But essentially, we have a teenage main character, and she has this small circle of friends, and they are from what I remember, I think they're all Hispanic. And her best friend, well, not her best friend, but like one of her closest friends, one of her close friends, is kind of the exact opposite to her. And this is actually where some of my like issues arise. But we'll get into that like later in my review for this book. But essentially, in the beginning of the book, her and her friends are hanging out, and she wants to impress her friends. And so she kind of disingenuously tries to summon a god or a goddess to speak with them and to commune with them. And she ends up accidentally possessing her friend with the goddess of filth. And so now her friend is being inhabited by this goddess of filth, right? So this is kind of where my issues arise, right? So I am very aware that in a lot of Hispanic or Latina communities, very similar to a large portion of the Black community, a lot of very conservative ideals still run very rampant and still define a lot of collective moral values that we have, right? I understand that. However, I feel like there wasn't enough in this book to kind of contest those ideals, because the main character, she always refers to herself as like a rebel, right? But her main reasons for describing herself as a rebel, or even there were literally some cases she was basically saying that she's a bad person, was because she would have sex. Like, would it... You see what I'm saying? Like, and I also get that there is, I guess, some edginess, and there are some sort of like rebel tags that you can put on underage drinking and like smoking and stuff. But she would constantly compare herself to the friend that ended up possessed by this goddess in a way that was like, oh, my friend doesn't deserve this because she's a virgin, and because she doesn't smoke, and because she's never drank, and because she's never kissed a boy. Where like me, that should have happened to me because I have literally at one point she said something along the lines of, my friend doesn't deserve this because she loves being around kids, but I have condoms in my purse. How are those two things connected, sis? Like, I'm not understanding that. And we definitely are introduced to a character. So the girlie who done got possessed by the goddess girlie, her mom is constantly berating the main character for being a bad person, for being a slut, for being XYZ or whatever. And I think that was supposed to be the way that the author was criticizing the more conservative ideals. But for me, it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough because the main character was buying into it The possessed girlie was buying into it. Hell, at some points, the goddess that was possessing the girlie was buying into it. I say all that to say, I give this 3 stars because I just so appreciate that the audiobook narrator clearly was fluent in Spanish. And can we talk about that real quick? If you came here for a quick little 1-2Z video, I'm sorry, that's not what this is. It will never be that. It wouldn't. I love to blab. Okay. Anyways, I saw a video recently, and I really wish I would have written down that human's name, but I saw a video where a audiobook narrator was basically saying how a lot of times they're not even aware that there's going to be foreign language or accents involved in a project until they're already contracted to do it, or they're halfway through it, which to me is bonkers. That makes literally no sense. What do you mean? She said in some instances she'll be halfway through recording a book and all of a sudden she has to speak like an old German lady. What? So I'm very, very happy that for Goddess of Filth, the publisher or whoever had the foresight to hire someone who is either a native Spanish speaker or is at least fluent in Spanish, because chef's kiss for the audiobook narrator. Moving on. All right, now, the next book that I actually read in sequence after Goddess of Filth, we ain't gonna talk about right now. We ain't gonna talk about it right now because I don't want my feelings about this book to influence my energy for the following books, for the books that came after her. So we're gonna move her on to the side. Anyways, on to better things. The book I read after that was Do Not Disturb by Frida McFadden. Y'all know I have a problem. I have an addiction. I have an obsession. I don't know what it is. I have the most toxic relationship with Frida McFadden. It is so hit or miss. It is so hit or miss, and I go back every time. So Do Not Disturb follows a girlie, and in the very opening of the book, she's telling you, hey, yo, that dude that's dead in the kitchen right now, that's my husband. I did it to him. He dead because of me. What you finna do about it? So she's kind of panicking, what do I do? He's too heavy for me to drag him somewhere, for me to load him up, for me to hide the body. And just when she thinks she got a little plan going on, she hears a at the front door. Guess who it is? Not only is it her ex-boyfriend from way back in the day, her ex-boyfriend is the Popo. So her ex-boyfriend police officer is at the front door and he's like,
hey girl, it's been a minute. You looking good, but hey yo, your neighbor, he called and he was like, he heard some screaming and hollering over here. You good? Cause you look good, but is you good?
She's like, yeah, totally fine. Nothing to see here, Mr. Officer. Oh my God, your muscles are totally muscling. Oh my God, you're so cute. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I was just, what was the screaming though? Oh yeah, it was a scary movie. Yeah, it was a scary movie. I just had it too loud. I'm a silly girly, but yeah, TTYL. Why'd you call me sometime? Yeah, bye. And so then she realizes, okay, literally the police have just left my home. I can't be here. People gonna find out eventually that this man is dead face down in the kitchen. I need to skedaddle. So she gets in her car. Mind you, of course, as every other Frida McFadden book features, there's a gigantic snowstorm, okay? So she skedaddles on through the snowstorm, down the road in her little beat up car, and she comes to an even more beat up roadside motel. And as you can imagine, that was probably not the best choice for her to make, and shit pops off from there. So what's interesting, y'all are gonna have something to say about it, a deal, okay? Despite the fact that this was, in my opinion, one of her most well-written, one of her most well plotted books. And I think this has a cast of characters who are very well characterized. They're very well written characters. I only gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. And here's the thing. First of all, I do what I want. Second, I think my rating for this book just goes to show how incredibly subjective ratings are, right? Why is that? Because if this would have been written by any other writer that I don't have such a familiarity with, I probably would have given it like 4 stars. But I'm docking it a star because it's Frida McFadden. Now, what does that mean? Be quiet. Give me a second. Give me a second. It's just my opinion. Okay. When I read a Frida McFadden novel, I want that trademark Frida feeling. Now, what is the Frida feeling? The Frida feeling is plot holes, inconsistencies, the dramatics, the absolute nonsensical decisions, the characters that I want to put into the blender and then flush down the toilet. That's what I come to Frida McFadden novels for. So when I read a well-structured book, when I read a well-plotted book with characters that, I mean, sometimes are making like not good decisions, but like they still work. Like I could at least follow the logic. When the characters have any kind of logic, I don't want it. I don't want it from Miss Frida. I don't want Miss Frida to improve upon her craft. I do what I want. Look, as a queer Black woman in the world, okay, I get power taken from me by every entity that is present on Earth, okay? If I want to give a little cute 3-star to a book, I'ma do it. It don't matter the reason. Hair flip. Let's continue. This is going off the rails. Okay. Next, what did I read? Ooh, girl. Get into her. I read Good Night Tokyo by Tsuruhiro Yoshida. First of all, the cover. Get into this cover. Get into this. Is this not art? This looks like a poster, right? This looks like a poster. It's, oh God, who is the cover artist? Is it going to say? I really hope it says who the cover artist is. Okay, cover illustration by Massimo Dall'Oglio. Okay, and then cover design by Generva Rapisardi. I'll put their names on the screen, but oh my God. Okay, so I feel like it's kind of difficult to explain what this book is about, not because it's convoluted or like a high concept novel, but this book follows a group of people who live in Tokyo or the greater Tokyo area. And what makes this book so special? So if you have ever visited Tokyo, or honestly any of the big cities in Japan, or if you have visited a city that is similar to scale with some of the larger cities in the world, then you understand how incredibly whimsical it is to read a book about, I think it's like 5 or 6 people that you follow who are all connected in intimate ways unintentionally. I guess you could say that this book the story kind of kicks off when you're following a taxi driver. His name is Matsui-san, and his taxi is only in the middle of the night, right? Yeah, it's from 1 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. And so he tends to pick up a lot of the same people, even if those people don't realize that he's the one that's been continuously picking them up. But he has this kind of like special work relationship with one of his patrons who she works at a film studio, and she is the one who procures items for the set of whatever is being filmed at the studio, right? So at random times during the night, she'll call Matsui up for a ride, and she's like, hey, bring me to a place in Tokyo that sells, blueberries, even though they're out of season. I need to find a place to find a neon green wheelbarrow at 3:00 in the morning, right? And so as they go on their little adventures, they meet other people, right? And then we follow those other people, not in relation to Matsui or the girl who is looking for these items. And then as we follow those people, we follow other people and other people and other people. And then as the story progresses, we start to see all the different ways that these people are connected. This was just so, I don't want to say, well, I'm going to say cozy, because this, I think, is the first time I've ever read about a place where I live. I am from South Carolina, and I don't think I've ever read a book that took place in South Carolina. And so this is my first time reading a book and being like, oh, I know where that is. Oh, I know exactly where that is. Or I've been there before, whatever. Like, this was such a special read for me in that way. But also, once again, just living in such a big city where there's a gajillion people, and reading about how this small circle of people all unintentionally impact each other's lives in such a huge way. I loved it. I tabbed it up, girl. Highly, highly recommend. Obviously, from the way that I am gushing about it, 5 stars. Then, on a whim, I chose to listen to The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. I believe it was only an hour and some change. And y'all, yes, absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Now, Miss Gillian, now let's get it together. Okay. Gone Girl, you did your thing. I didn't like it particularly, but you gave the other girlies what they was asking for. They loved it. They ate it up. Then it turned into an adaptation, and you got the queens. I appreciate that. But then Sharp Objects. Now, mind you, I don't know what order that these things were published in. That's not really the point. Sharp Objects, it was okay. I was more disappointed in Sharp Objects because even though I didn't like Gone Girl, Gillian Flynn is very obviously an extremely talented writer. So when you kind of gave me a little like watered down plot with a twist ending that was like, girl, I guess, I was like, okay, this could have stayed in the draft. I believe you can do better. And then you really tried it with Dark Places. You really tried it. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I done talked about my beef that I have with Dark Places in a previous video. But no, ma'am. Whatever you thought you was doing, don't do it no more. Don't do that again. We don't need that. This, The Grown Up, that is what we needed. I don't know if it's because you do better with brevity. I'm not sure. But yes, ma'am. So I just want to say that the first either line or two of The Grown Up needs to be put in a frame and then hung on the wall in the Smithsonian. That was the strongest and most unhinged and chaotic first line or two of a book I've ever read in my life. I loved every moment of this. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. The only reason I didn't give it a 5 is because I actually would have maybe wanted another like 30 pages. Just because I loved being in the story so much, but I still enjoy that it was so short. I don't think I would have wanted a full novel of this, but wow. I feel like I don't want to tell you what it's about because I thought it was about one thing and it was about another thing. But I think the fact that I ain't know what the thing was that it was about made it an enjoyable read. So yes, 4 out of 5 stars. Wow, Gillian Flynn. Yes, yes, cry. Yes, and obviously all this is theoretically being said to her. Gillian Flynn, I hope you ain't watching this for real. Ain't no reason you would be watching my video in the first place. But don't be sending this to Gillian Flynn. This ain't for her. This ain't for her. Sorry, Gillian. I don't. I'm sorry. Okay. Ooh, all right. The next book I read was Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. And wow, what? Once again, get into the cover. I love the slanted text. I love the bold sans serif font. And to be honest, this is my 3rd year living in Japan. I don't know what this is. I have never seen this before. So if somebody knows what that is, can you tell me? I've never seen this before. I don't know what that is. She works at a convenience store, obviously, so I'm sure it's some sort of food product, but I don't know what that is. And I don't think it was directly referenced in the book. If it were, I'm sorry, girl, that I didn't understand. Let's see who the cover designer is. Yeah, I don't see anything about a cover designer being mentioned. If I can find something on the interwebs, I will put it in the description. But anyways, this story follows exactly what the title says, except there's just so much in this. So first of all, I think this was also very special because this again takes place in Japan. And so it was very special reading about a place where I live. I was familiar with a lot of the smaller eccentricities about this book. A lot of the smaller details are something that, I live day to day. And so this was, I guess, another cozy read, not because that was the author's intention, but because once again, it's a very special feeling for me to read about a place where I live. However, this book follows a woman who we very quickly realize has some sort of social. Even with how short the book is, we very quickly learn that the main character has a difficult time picking up on social and cultural cues and expectations, right? Her brain does not perceive the world in the same way that a lot of us do. In fact, I don't want to say she's necessarily a sociopath, but that's kind of the vibes that I get. And I don't want to diagnose a fictional character, especially considering that I have 0 credentials to diagnose anything with any kind of thing. But anyways, so in this story, even though she is, 36 years old, she has worked at the same convenience store. By the way, if I say konbini, that's what they're called in Japan. I'm going to try to make sure I say convenience store. But if I say konbini, that's what I mean. Convenience store. Anyways, she has worked at the same convenience store for like something crazy, like 18 years or something. And so her friends and family, obviously, they are aware of her different perspectives on the world. And this story is about how she is struggling with doing what gives her the most fulfillment in her life, which for her is being a convenience store woman working in the convenience store. But for everyone else, they're confused why she isn't valuing the same thing that they value, right? So for her, she has no intention and no desire, for example, to travel or to get married, to have kids, to buy a home. And she's thinking, well, I make perfectly good money. I don't need to make more money because I can eat. I can, have a place to stay. What do I need to make more money for? Why do I need a husband? Why do I need children? And I feel like a really good example on how she sees the world is in the very beginning of the book. It's kind of talking about her childhood. And at one point when she was, I think, in either elementary or middle school, there's 2 boys out in front of the school and they're fighting. And so, of course, everyone is running around. They're like, hey, oh my God, stop them. Oh no, get a teacher, get help. And so then the main character goes and gets a shovel. and bashes one of the boys over the back of the head with it, completely rendering that boy unconscious. And so then later, when some adults are talking to her, like, why did you do that? She's like, didn't you tell me to stop them? Didn't y'all want them to cease the fighting? Well, now he's finna cease life. So I don't know why you're confused. Okay. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. And what's crazy, I really wish I had tabs while I was reading this. I was actually out in Yokohama while I was reading most of this, so I didn't think to bring my tabs with me. But the moments I got out of this that were the most valuable to me actually came from the absolute worst character in this book. He was so insufferable. He was such an asshole. He has such a backwards view of people and gender roles and what it means to be an adult and what it means to be a man or a woman or whatever. But some of the stuff he said just hit home so hard. One thing in particular he was talking about is how if you venture off of the main pathway that everyone feels like you need to go down in your life, that gives people more and more feeling that they are allowed to invade your personal life and ask you invasive questions. And I feel like a really common example of this is the moment people get married in a heterosexual relationship. The first thing people ask is, oh, so we're gonna have kids. We're gonna have kids. We're gonna have kids. And so he's basically talking about how if you don't have the job that everyone thinks you're supposed to have at a certain age, they think it's okay to be all up in your business asking you about your job and your career and when are you gonna get a different job. Same thing if you're not married. People are always all up in your business asking, why aren't you married? When are you gonna get married? When are you gonna do this? And that was definitely something that me, as a 32-year-old girlie who ain't done none of the things that she was supposed to do at all, and the things that did happen didn't happen in the right order, yada, yada, yada. I absolutely understand. I absolutely understand 100%. And that was so relatable. 5 out of 5 stars. I'm going to have to cut some of that out because I'm pretty sure I just talked about that book for 10 minutes. Okay. The next book I read, I read Days at the Murasaki Bookshop by Satoshi Yakisawa. And when I tell you, Satoshi Yakisawa, you got it. You got it. Because what? The coziness. Now, this is a book I will say was purposefully cozy. I don't think these were not supposed to be cozy. This was purposefully cozy. So the beginning, and the tabby tabs came back. So this book follows a young woman, and she's in a committed relationship with this man. And in the beginning of the book, they're at dinner, and over dinner, her boyfriend is just like, well, looks like I'm getting married in the spring. And so our girlie, the main character, is like, we're getting married? You and me? What? Are you proposing right now? No. Who is getting married in spring? Girl, let me give you the tea. So it turns out that her boyfriend had a whole ass nother relationship. And they have been together for years. And they are now engaged. He proposed to this other girl while he was dating our girlie. And so over dinner, he just casually drops the fact that he's engaged to another woman. And then to really make it terrible, to put the bar all the way into the lake of fire, okay, it turns out the other girl that he's now engaged to is one of her coworkers. When I tell you Batman could not have pulled me off of that dude, ooh, child, my fingernails would have been inside of his retinas. Okay. His retinas would have been in my pockets. Baby girl, do you understand? But anyways, as you can imagine, she spirals. She ends up quitting her job because, I mean, how can she stay at that job? And soon enough, her uncle, I believe, catches wind about what happened. He's like, hey, I hear you're going through a bad time. How about instead of spending all of your money that you don't really have right now on that super fancy apartment in downtown, why don't you come out here and live with me above the bookshop? And she begrudgingly does so because, I mean, it's the most logical thing to do. And it's such a very, very cozy story from there. Wow. I really, really liked this. 5 out of 5 stars. I will say that towards the end, it kind of went in a direction that I wasn't really feeling. But once it ended, like once the whole story ended, I better understood why that happened. But wow, I love these characters so much. They're so vivid and it feels like I know them. It feels like I was reading about people that I'd already met before. Oh, I just love this so much. Once again, this was purposefully cozy. This was purposefully cozy. Highly recommend. 5 out of 5 stars. Okay, forgive me. I have to harbor a cough drop in my mouth to get through the rest of this. My throat's kind of hurting. I wonder if that's as loud in the microphone as it is to me. Okay, so the next book I read is another Penguin Modern book, and that is It Is the Gigolo. The Gigolo by Francois Sagan. Francois Sagan. So let's see. Okay, I do think that this summary of this story is a little more accurate. A middle-aged woman breaks with her young lover. A husband is suspected of infidelity. A dying man reflects on his extramarital affairs in the shimmering, bittersweet tales of desire and disillusionment. Yes, so that's exactly what this is. So this actually doesn't follow one person, but it basically just follows a few couples who are experiencing changes in their relationship, right? So the first one follows a woman who is having, so okay, from what I understand, what gigolo meant back then, it meant kind of multiple things. But in this context, a gigolo is a man that you basically, it's kind of like an escort. Like you pay him to do boyfriend things with you, except this couple, once again, from what I understand, because this was very clearly written for an audience who had a very detailed understanding of what gigolos were back in the 70s. Yeah, in the 70s, specifically in France, right? But from what I understand, they had a relationship where she was paying him to be her gigolo, but things ended up not working out because she was going back to wherever and she didn't need or want him to come with him, but he had become attached to her. And so there's kind of like a struggle there. And then I'm not going to talk about the other, was it just one other couple? I don't remember. Yeah, there's 2 other couples, I believe, that are mentioned. And yeah, this talks about infidelity and that how that can impact your relationships even outside of the romantic relationship you have with that person. It can change how your friends perceive you, for example, whether you were the victim of infidelity or the perpetrator of infidelity. So I really, really enjoyed these conversations. The tabby tabs. Tabbed it up, girl. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I'm hitting. I can't wait to read another one of these because if it's another 5-star, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Last and certainly least, absolutely least, we have a book that Y'all owe me. Y'all owe me. The girlies led me astray. Y'all led me astray. Katie Colson recently did a video where she was, talking about books she had read, and she mentioned this. And if I'm not mistaken, she is the first person that I have seen have any sort of criticisms about this book. I'm just so glad her and I are on the same page, because knowing there's at least one other human out there who is just as confused and bamboozled as I am, it was very validating. So thank you, Katie. Thank you for putting your opinion about this book out in the universe, because what in the hot fuck was this? This is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I have a hard time even knowing where to begin with this. So, so maybe I should just talk about what it's about. So there's a girl, and she is not like other girls. She's not like other girls because she's so strong. And of course, no other girl can be so strong and run so fast, right? No other girl has ever carried a knife. She's so cool. She's so quirky. No other girl has ever spoken up for herself. She's such a not like other girls kind of girly girl. So she steals a thing because she's an edgy girl, and she says bad words, and she kisses boys. And so she ends up stealing a gauntlet off of a knight in the city. And long story short, she ends up getting caught. And right as she's being tortured, within the queen's castle or whatever the fuck, this shadow demon daddy comes out of the ground, kills the dude who's torturing her, and brings her back into the world of the Fae. Okay. I think this book was so poorly written, and it was so bad that I'm actually having a difficult time pinpointing what my issues throughout the entire experience were. However, what I need you to understand is that, as I mentioned earlier, as of right now, 2025, Valentine's Day, I'm 32 years old. Okay. So I grew up reading and writing fan fiction. Okay. This is exactly what I would have expected to read on one of those edgy emo fan fiction sites that was written by a 14-year-old girl who was just learning how to curse. This was so... The characters had no personality outside of just one character trait that would inform every single thing they said and every single decision they made. I forgot what that one female fairy's name was, but whatever her name was, she cried about everything because she's supposed to be the sensitive, caring one. So in every single situation, she was always crying or always running away or always on the verge of crying, and then she would run away so she could cry somewhere else. That's not characterization. That's not writing a character. That's a caricature, right? Every single character in here was so one note. They were so flat. There was no dynamic kind of character arc anywhere in this book, okay? Now, let's take a close look at the tabby tabs. You see how this is the beginning of the book and this is the end. You see how they started off strong and then they started to dwindle away? It is because the further I got into this book, the more I started to notice something. I was like, these characters are using profanity in ways that, once again, didn't make sense and didn't add to the story. Just like a teenager that's learning how to curse for the first time, any place they were just sprinkling it in. So let's do like a quick challenge. Let's do it. Okay, yeah, let's just start here. Let's do a quick little challenge. Okay. I started to go through and I highlighted every time one of the characters said the word fuck. Okay. Let's open up the book to page 530. Yeah, to page 530. Okay. Now, as you can see, this is one page. But I have a little challenge for you. And please follow along in your copy, because I don't want anyone saying that I'm just like trying to nitpick about things. Let's keep flipping through this until we come to 3 or 4 consecutive pages that don't have the word fuck. I'm going to say it again. Let's continue to flip through the pages until we find 3 to 4 consecutive pages that don't have the word fuck or a variation of the word fuck. All right, page 530. Fuck, it was Rin. She'd fallen from the fucking ceiling. Fuck, Carrion cried. I was such a fucking idiot. Page 531. I had enough time to thank the gods that she was fucking alive. Okay, page 533. Everywhere, fucking water. Ha! Where the fuck did he think I was going? Page 534. Fuck, I panted. Fuck, fuck, fuck. Page 535. You wouldn't fucking dare. It would explain why neither of us could fucking breathe without hissing. Page 536. Well, what does it say? Oh, was obviously impossible since neither Carrion nor I could fucking swim. Oh! Oh! Do you see my issue? Do you see? It was so... Okay, I just randomly flipped to another page. Page 586. Fuck, I gasped. Oh, gods, fuck. The very next page. What the fuck, Saris? I don't know how you say that person's name. But like, Jesus Christ. This was a fever dream straight out of a hormonal 14-year-old's journal. No. No. No, 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 no. No. However, and best believe this got 1 star. This got 1 star. Baby, yes. One star. However, it seems like they did not credit the cover artist. Oh, what? Okay, so apparently the cover design was by Callie Hart, so the writer. Cover and reverse cover images were from Shutterstock, Dreams Time, and okay. Wow. So I guess the author made the cover? That's cool. Oh no, the silver is kind of rubbing off on the title. But y'all get into this. Get into this. This is a beautiful cover. This is a beautiful cover. And even the spine, gorgeous. We love to see it. We love to see it. But as Jess Owens would say, beautiful gowns. Beautiful gowns. You know, Aretha Franklin, she came through with that reference. And I love that Jess has like twisted it to talk about books. But like beautiful gowns. This is gorgeous. This is easily one of the top 10 most beautiful books I have ever owned. But what the fuck was this? I deserve reparations. Immediately. And with that, y'all, those were all of the books that I read since the 1st of January all the way up until the 14th day of February 2025. Happy Valentine's Day. Have you read any of these books? If you've read Quicksilver, just give me like a quick little sentence or two about what you did or did not like about Quicksilver. I'm actually more curious about the people who did enjoy this. Can you send me your copy real quick? I'm going to send it right back. I don't want it. But I just need to compare notes. I want to open to page whatever in my copy and in your copy and just do a line by line comparison, because I'm convinced Katie Coulson and I got the zero drafts. That's what it was, y'all. That's what I done figured it out. And no, ma'am. I hope that whatever you're reading now is bringing you so much joy and peace in these crazy times. Nobody is going to get bingo on their 2025 bingo card, because the things that have happened up until this very moment, both in the world at large and within the book community, is I have no words. But as always, thank you so much for your support. Please today find one other small booktuber, like, comment, and subscribe on their videos, as well as this one. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. Did I get lip gloss on my hand? I did. Okay, let's try that again.